This video is starting a little bit different to most of mine, purely because I'm taking my SIB for a walk. I'll spin you around so you can see, but yeah, it's pretty much bang on low tide at the moment, so a little bit too shallow for me to put the engine down, but it's not an issue. So I'm just pulling it along with one hand here. It's about knee depth, so not particularly deep, but very easy for me just to walk along with it. And we're going to get to motor depth in a minute, but yeah, just goes to show that you can take these out just about anywhere, any state of tide. Doesn't really matter too much. Intentions for today is to fish a bit closer into shore than what I would typically fish. Some of my recent videos you would have seen that I go quite a way out sometimes, which isn't always necessary. I mean, generally speaking, you will find more fish and better fish in deeper water, but at this time of year, October, when that water temperature is just starting to drop and you get these cold days like we have today where it's fog and overcast, and you can have some fantastic fishing inshore, and you know, there can be some big fish swimming around. So we're going to have a go today. We've only got 2 rods with us, a medium lure rod and a super light lure rod, so we can have a bit of fun no matter what size of fish we encounter. So I've come out to a spot now which is just about as far off as I really plan on coming out today. I'm only just about a mile from shore, and I wanted to try this spot just as the tide starts to push, just to see if we could get any bigger fish. We're only in 13 meters of water, so not particularly deep. I'll just show you what I'm dropping down with. The fish black minnow number 3, the 40 gram head I think that is. So a little bit of weight, just because the wind's starting to pick up now and we're going to be on a fairly fast drift along with that tide. I'm just dropping that down to the bottom, waiting to drift over this bit of patch of reef. I'm just working on a slow retrieve. A few bounces along the way. Make sure you drag set right. Go, first fish in the deeper water here, and I think it is a pollock, yes. Quite predictable. As I was saying earlier, you can see the marks sometimes. You just sort of know what they are. They're not big fish at all, but that's what we're getting. Bit of glare there. Let's see if I can spin you around. There you are. Yeah, small pollock. But you know, a fish is a fish, and a pleasure to catch. There we are. I'm sure there's loads of them down there over this bit of reef that we're on at the moment. Often the way when you're fishing shallow water like this, you do get smaller pollock. They don't tend, the big ones don't tend to come in to the shallow parts of the reef. I mean, you can still pick up the 3-4 pounders, but yeah, that sort of size that we just had there is a very typical stamp of fish. But we'll fish this spot for a little bit longer, as it might be worth seeing if we can eke out a bigger one or something else in amongst them. There we are. So that's what it's like when you find these pollock. You know, they're usually in shoals. We're into another one. Hey! We're only fishing fairly light gear here, so still a lot of fun. But as you'll see, they're all of that sort of size. You know, they'll shoal up, and yeah. But if you want to get a fish, you know, if you're really desperate to catch some fish, then find a bit of reef. You really want at least 10 meters of depth. Get yourself a soft plastic lure like the fish black minnow and just bounce it along the bottom, and you'll find pollock like that. Try and look for them on your sounder, because you can usually see them. Well, I've come to this spot here, as you can tell, right in close to the shoreline, in hopes of finding some bass. There's some lovely bassy looking structure around here, but I just can't seem to find the fish. For the life of me, I'm just working a pachinko here in close to the structure. And yeah, really quiet. I'm going to chalk that down to the small tides, but that's just fishing, isn't it? You're not always going to catch fish, and you know, sometimes they're just not there, or they're not feeding, and no matter what you try, it doesn't do much. But the sun's shining, it's a lovely day. I'm starting to think to myself that I wish I'd gone a little bit further out, because the wind just hasn't picked up like it was forecast to yet. But we'll see what the afternoon brings. Not a whole lot going on in here, not a whole lot, whether it's because it's a little bit too calm, or like I was saying earlier, the tides are a little small, or a combination of all of that. It just doesn't seem to be much on the feed. It's a lovely looking spot though. There's just loads of boulders and lumps of rock sticking up. We'll persist a little longer, maybe try some other lures. I thought the pachinko might at least give me a sign that there might be fish here, if I could see them going for it on the surface. So I think we might try something else, and then if that's not working, we'll move spots. A lovely day to be on the water though. Really nice in this little cove here, nice and sheltered, and the sun's on me. You wouldn't think it's October, because I'm in shorts and a light fleece. Here we are, our first proper fish of the session, and this feels like a really decent fish. Really decent fish, something that's definitely worth waiting for. Head shakes, give away that it's a bass. Feels like a lump. On some tremendous runs, fishing a slightly different technique to what I was earlier, and it's resulted in a nice fish here. Just when I was starting to give up hope, as it's been quite a slow day, I seem to have hooked into a nice fish. Now I've got to get myself ready here, because I do really want to land this fish, as I've not had many today. So I'm just getting a net up on the tube to ease this fish in, because I think it's a half decent one, guys. Like I said, a heavy fish. There we are, loosen that drag off. We don't want to bully it in. We're on a single hook here, and it could all too easily flick it out, as I've known before. This fish has put up a very good fight, and I want to make sure I get it in the net. It looks like a really nice bass here. Easing it into the boat very gently, keeping pressure on the top of that rod. Get my net sorted. Come on. There we go. Oh, come on. There we go. That moment of relief when you get the fish in the net. Here we go. A very nice bass. What feels like a very healthy one because of its weight. It's not a particularly long fish, but it does feel like a pretty heavy one. Let's get her out of the net. So a beautiful bass there, which fought exceptionally well. I honestly thought it was a slightly bigger fish than that. That's probably mid 50s, I'd say. You know, around the 50, 53, 54 centimetre mark. We can get a rough, yeah, she's going to go mid 50s. So a stunning bass. I'm aware that there might be a bit of glare behind me. Stunning bass. Very welcomed on what has been a really slow day for me so far. But just varying my approach, same area that I've been fishing, but varying my approach resulted in a stunning bar of silver. So that is a real beauty. You know, when you catch a fish like this on a slower day, you really become quite grateful for it. And that has just slammed a fish crazy paddle tail there. My lure of the season, without a doubt. And that's in the blue colour. I think there's only a blue and a khaki. Really beautiful bass this, very light colours. An amazing green tinge to its flank. I haven't really seen one like this before. An exceptional fish to brighten up what has been a nice day, but a slow day for me. I think I'll get a measurement of this because I'm quite interested to know its length, and a few pictures, because what a stunning bar of silver. Maybe there's some more now, you know, maybe this is it, they're coming on the feed. But that fish will make me happy for the day, undoubtedly. Great stuff. Let's try and get another one. I've gone for a slight change in approach now. Earlier I was only fishing about 100-200 yards over in that direction with the surface lures and shallow divers, but I just wasn't having any takes at all. So I've come to a bit of deeper water here, and there's sort of a finger of reef that stretches along, and it's a little bit shallower than the surrounding reef. It sort of banks up around to 10 to 8 meters, and the surrounding reef's around sort of 13-14 meters, and you get a bit of tidal flow along here. So I'm just casting this this fish paddle tail here, this crazy paddle tail along, and it's a really effective method of fishing reef with this sort of depth. So that's a 20 gram head on that. I think the combined weight of the lure is around 30 grams. I'm just casting it up tide and upwind of me, so I'm getting blown back down. I'm letting it sink a little bit. Okay, I don't have to wait too long because it's not too deep. And then I'm just going for a slow retrieve. A nice, simple, slow retrieve along this bit of reef where I know there's a bit more of a tidal flow here, and chance, hopefully, a few bass moving through. I'm just keeping that retrieve nice and steady. Every now and then, let it pause, just let it sink a few meters, and then back on with the retrieve. And the odd twitch as well. The odd twitch doesn't do any harm. There we go. Take on the sink and retrieve method with the crazy eel. Quite a few head shakes going on here, so it feels bassy to me. Not a huge fish. It's already up on the surface, in fact, quite a distance away. But not a tiny schoolie either. Just goes to show that this method is very effective, especially when you've got that tidal flow running. Slack tide, I'd say forget about it. But yeah, if you've got a bit of movement in the water, give it a shot. Looks like a nice bass coming in there. Respectable fish indeed. Whee! Hell of a lot of energy. This is bass fishing at its best, really, isn't it? You got the moody skies, a bit of the wind, tidal flow, and these bass are just, you know, they get a really good chance to scrap. You're not too worried about heaving them in because of snags and stuff. You just get the ultimate fight from them. Beautiful stuff. That bass just cruising around on the surface there. Fantastic colours. We'll lift her in. This is proving to be a really effective method right now. On a day which has been really slow up till now, I just seem to be getting into some really nice fish here. Just after the last one, I'm back into a fish which I'm convinced is a bass. This feels slightly heavier, and I'm expecting it to go on a run very soon, because it hasn't yet. It seems to be sort of easing against me, but it just hasn't used its energy to go on any runs. It's coming up to the surface slowly. See that? I'm just winching against it, and there's not a lot of movement on the rod tip, but I'm sure it's going to get unhappy soon, because it feels like a heavy fish. I don't know what's happening here. There we go. Lovely bass. Whoa. This one just isn't, it's fighting strange for a bass, that's for sure. I don't really want to bring it too close to the boat if it hasn't, you know, if it hasn't had a fight yet, because it could just go crazy when I get it alongside. This is a stunning fish. I mean, I say that about every single one of them because they are, but you know, you just get the variation in colour and wow, it's amazing. Amazing. In fact, this one is slightly bigger than the last. Oh, and he's just engulfed that crazy paddle tail. This is a really dark fish here, which makes me think, oh, I'm just trying to slip my finger in his, yeah, there we are. This is a really dark fish, which makes me think it's spent quite a bit of time around the reef system. But look at that, compared to one we had earlier where it was quite light with green along its flanks. That's beautiful, dark, there's a golden shimmer to it, some green as well. I mean, I don't think there's a better looking fish in the UK than that. Dorsal spines. It's absolutely epic, isn't it? And where the bloody hell is that lure gone? You know, you can tell that they're really feeding when they're engulfing these lures like that. A healthy bit of competition, I'm sure, down there. So we'll just try and slip this one out without causing the fish any harm. Oh my days, beautiful. Well, the tide's really starting to slacken off now as we get to high water, and the fishing's chopped off too. And all I can say is I'm glad I didn't go along the way upstairs. The wind has really picked up. I'm not sure how much you can tell, but so is the swell. Now this is nothing for a SIB. You know, I'm going to bob along quite happily here. I don't have to worry at all about waves crashing over or anything like that. But it does make it very uncomfortable on your back coming in when it's like this on a SIB, just because we've just got that bit of wind sea really, and yeah, it's not very pleasant when you're coming in from a few miles. You either got to take it really slow or just yeah, grit your teeth and bear with it. But I'm glad I stayed in close and had a few good fish and a relaxing day. So yeah, hopefully you enjoyed spending that day with me. Thank you ever so much for watching, as always. You know, I can't emphasize enough how much I appreciate it. Plenty more videos to come as we move into the winter season. I'll be focusing a bit more on my bait fishing for the likes of conger and ray, with an outside chance of a cod. So yeah, you'll be joining me soon on those sort of videos, and I can't always promise that there'll be a lot of fish. It's just the nature of fishing in the winter. So instead, maybe to provide a little bit of entertainment alongside the fishing, feel free to ask me some questions in the comments, or if you'd rather, you can DM me on Instagram, which is open on the water. And yeah, I'll try and interact a bit throughout those videos when the fishing might be a little bit slow. Hopefully I can provide some you know, some interesting content in other ways, and it can be fishing related, non-fishing related, I don't really mind. But yeah, get involved and carry on. Thank you very much. See you in the next one. Cheers.